После того, как разрешилась судьба голубого шара, в окрестностях Припяти прошла серия выбросов. Немногочисленные известные тропы в город, ныне перекрытые стеной аномалий. Но не все дороги ведут в Припять. На севере много тайн, и самые сильные группировки зоны готовы платить кровью и свинцом, чтобы раскрыть их. На новых территориях развернется старая война. Ты присоединился к наемникам, группировке, которая регулярно срывает в зоне большой куш. Они берутся за заказы любой сложности. Они профессионалы, которые действуют вне рамок закона и морали. Но, может, как раз это и помогает им держаться на плаву. Фанатики и анархисты в зоне рано или поздно переведутся. Останутся лучшие, останутся наемники.
Mercs will find themselves at the Serpentine, also sometimes called the Paper Kremlin by its inhabitants, a cool name since its real name, the Paper Cardboard Mill No. 5, isn't nearly as interesting. People say it gets its name from the fact that roads twirl and change here, and from the fact that a certain toy was produced here by the same name, which just sounds like coping from people who didn't like Paper Cardboard Mill No. 5 enough. Still, it's home. Lame name be damned. Upon arrival, Muller, the faction's leader, will be standing right here to greet you along with one of his officers, Romeo. Not one to be a faceless leader or to take in whatever random who wants to make a quick buck, Muller makes it clear that if you're here, you're either going to be in it for the long haul or join most of the other rookies in the mass graves. It looks like the turnover rate is pretty high for new hires.
Пытаюсь понять, из какого ты теста. Я Мюллер, здешний шеф.
If you worked with the Mercenaries during the Blue Sphere storyline to hunt Bagant, that one bloodsucker, you'll hear a name that might seem familiar, Siegfried. He has recently broken off from the faction, a fact that has Muller quite bothered. But that's none of your business, not right now at least. Romeo says you'll be working as a chef tonight. The dish? Lead.
Меню у нас особое, не шленовское. Свинец, свинец и еще раз свинец под соусом из свинца. За повара сегодня будешь ты, понял?
A fancy way of saying you're stuck with rookie work and have to go out and thin the herds of mutants. Keep in mind this is only your first shift, since when you come back and you tell Romeo you're done, it's right back out to fetch some more shit. An entire outpost was lost to mutants recently and the gear back there is currently rusting away, so go pick it up, errand boy. Fucking bootleg ass 1990s PDA. This little Siegfried situation has Muller quite bothered. Stepping in the middle of an argument between him and Romeo, it seems he's lashing out against newbies, trying to weed out disloyalty, or maybe just looking for an outlet. Either way, it sounds bad. Romeo saying that if things stay this way, the mercenaries will run out of fresh blood. Not that Muller gives too much of a shit, they're all eating on the faction's dime anyways, and he's the leader, no? Asking you what you were up to, telling him about your little supply requisition will set him off once more.
В смысле, у нас там какие-то припасы оставались? Ромео, ты мне об этом не докладывал.
Никакого тихого саботажа, просто запамятовал. Уже закрыли весь вопрос. Вон, салага у нас красавец, все порешал.
Romeo hadn't reported this, and so Muller will brand such an action as quiet sabotage, so you might want to keep your mouth shut and tell a little white lie on Romeo's behalf. With the bus gone, it's time for your next assignment. You've got quite an knack for killing mutants, right? So what better then than to send a handsome rookie like you to clear out a den? There's some distilleries nearby, go clear them out, and the mutants will probably settle down for a while. Hopefully there's no parkour course or some shit. You've heard of pseudo dogs, but ever heard of a pseudo boar? It's not a bad gig, all things considered. No time to get a pat on the back on the return though, since there's going to be a fairly important meeting and you've been chosen to keep an eye on it. Hopefully while keeping your mouth shut. Ever heard of ZIVCAS? Well, mercenaries get to hear from them the most. At once loyal customers to the mercenaries, things have gone sideways lately, mainly because Siegfried, Muller's ex-BFF, eloped to a new contract with ZIVCAS. Worse yet, he brought along a bunch of clan folk with him. No wonder Muller is so hurt. The mercenaries are used to deals going sideways, but one of their most valuable clients and a main figurehead at the same time? Catastrophic. This should be a good chance to hash out details with a ZIVCAS representative, so go comb your hair, clean your face, and head to the meeting spot.
Ты кто? Чего тебе нужно?
Beating Romeo by a couple of moments, this is Phil, and he'll be your main line into ZIVCAS affairs during all this mess, looking into the why of this situation on Romeo's behalf. It seems like this contractual breakup between ZIVCAS and the Mercenaries came as a direct result of the Voroshilov contract's failure. The new ZIVCAS Council's acting chairman is one Adrian Evgenievich, the same genius who came up with the idea of the ZIVCAS Spetsnaz in the first place. And though this little army of his isn't exactly well regarded by his peers, Siegfried's help meant that this private army got up and running in no time thanks to all the officers he helped poach from the Mercenaries. Adrian Evgenievich is convinced that Forge 11 holds treasures that will pave ZIVCAS's future, and with the arrival of Executioner, a somewhat disturbed former mercenary and a detachment of supervisors, operations are fully committed to this new direction, and ZIVCAS wants the Mercenaries to roll over and take it. Not about to let themselves be humiliated by this sudden turn of events, this is a matter of honor and reputation now, both of which were besmirched by ZIVCAS. Glad to see that the Mercenaries want some sort of revenge, Phil encourages Romeo and leaves.
Кто тебе сказал, что я хочу вас отговорить? Я лишь прошу вас быть осторожнее. Все, теперь мне пора бежать. Времени в обрез. Еще свяжемся.
Your new task? Go around looking for Executioner and try to chat him up a little, get some info. The guy's a joker, so don't be afraid of some banter. You won't find Executioner, but you will find a fairly self-explanatory scene. The corpse of some ZIVCAS dude next to a rockfall and a rope. Tragic.
Так. Это что у нас тут? Наемник настиг несчастную жертву.
If you play along with the guy, you'll have two pieces of information to report. They're doing something in the nearby mountains, and they've lost a couple of fairly important people in the area. Good clues for Romeo to start looking into. Still, there's little action you can take as of now. Rumor is that ZIVCAS is eager to accept any other mercenary defectors into their ranks, seemingly intent on neutering whatever offensive capacity the faction has. Interestingly, Romeo will tell you that most mercenary defectors end up as squad leaders and officers, the rank-and-file soldiers for the ZIVCAS Spetsnaz instead being ex-Murmur soldiers, which makes you wonder just what exactly they can offer these scarred Psy victims. Right now, the first step to make things right is to somehow stop the outpour of mercenaries into ZIVCAS ranks. Local mercenary legend Lech Derevasov, also known as the Beer Cardinal, has more drinking buddies than anyone. Staying sober when most are throwing up blood from alcohol intake, whatever information he might know makes him a valuable ally to have. And Romeo can just go up and ask him, since leadership is trying to be nonchalant and unbothered about his ordeal. Instead, you'll play the role of a brave, strong-livered rookie who challenges the old-timer. If you impress him, he might be receptive to whatever questions you might have.
Куда несешься, салага? Кажется мне, что ты летаешь на таких высоких скоростях, как пробка от шампанского.
This guy's pretty dope. Not only does he take your challenge, he pulls out the good shit immediately. The nerds over at Rice have been working with plans lately, one of their shipments being intercepted by the Cardinal himself. He now has a unique brand of beer made with anomalous yeast. Must be some good shit, since it'll only take 4 rounds to knock you out if you don't keep your wits about you. How about a little memory game to stay conscious? Let's go down memory lane for a little. Who was that one guy that you helped back in the swamps? The first face you ever saw. The first man to help you. Lyndon, that's right, he's dead by now. So who did him in? Did you? Next question. Still in the swamps, remember how someone got killed and you had to solve it? You know that one guy who was loved by everyone? Who was that? Diver, yeah. He got killed by Coxcomb on Jaundice's behest. Wonder what the orderlies are up to now. Matter of fact, what did the orderlies do to their victims again? Right, they cut off their ears. Some pretty barbaric shit, right? You're better than that. You just let the corpses rot. And then there was that weird guy you met while looking for the receiver artifact, clearly driven insane by being a blessed. He thought he was a snake. Yeah, a snake. We're done? Oh, we're. Good job. Of course, all you did was win his respect.
Это было достойное соревнование.
You can barely string a sentence now, but for the Cardinal, this was all just a pre-game. Go sleep it off. He knows what you're up to, and he'll have something interesting to tell you later on. By the time you report back to Romeo, news have spread of your standoff against the Cardinal. Pretty impressive, huh? Might be good to ride this high and go get acquainted with the squad commanders. You just got done partying, but the mood is still tense in the Serpentine. Siegfried's betrayal has caused quite a bit of strife for everyone, so proving yourself as someone reliable to lean on might be good. Of course, some people don't want to be helped. The squad commander named Brutus will tell you to fuck off immediately.
Ромео из тебя своего протеже типа лепит. Так пусть он с тобой и возится тогда. Мне-то ты нахрен упал.
That leaves the other two who might be reasoned with. This is communist,
Новое лицо, значит.
and he really fucking hates Covenant and its members. Like, for real. He'd probably lead his squad straight into the Swamp Temple to kill them if they let him. But the people around him tell him to relax, since Covenant territory is on the other side of the north. They're not even bordering with the Mercenaries. On the third, he still manages to find ways to mess with their plans. Recently having captured, tortured, and interrogated a few, he's discovered that there's a stash of Covenant propaganda all the way out here. These stashes have trackers, so finding them should be easy. Don't even think of destroying them though. Bring them back to him so he can deal with the seditious material properly. He'll gladly put in a good word for you in exchange. After all, you just did the Mercenaries a great help from being converted into the insanity of Covenant cultism.
Серьезный вклад в нашу борьбу со страшным врагом. Я этого не забуду.
Then there's Tunda.
Ты по делу или просто слоняешься от безделья?
Surprisingly, he didn't name himself something like Centurion or Caesar, since he seems to be really into throwing out random bits of Latin while he speaks.
Semper in moto.
Aware of ZIVCAS' presence in the area, while Muller hasn't officially declared hostilities on them, it's not like they're being nice about it. If you slice their numbers up a little, surely no one would mind, right? Going back to Tunda, all it can be called is an incident. Not enough to incite an all-out war just yet, but it certainly helps in the grand scheme of things.
Я скажу Ромео, что остался доволен выполненной тобой халтуркой. Ты можешь идти. Валле.
Romeo will be glad to hear positive words from Tunda regarding this issue. You've helped two of the three most important squad commanders. Don't pay Brutus any mind. Like all good princesses, she just wanted to show off her rebellious side. Plus, you've got an interesting conversation scheduled with the beer colonel.
Опять ты куда-то несешься. Опять ко мне? Угадал?
He's aware of ZIVCAS' efforts to poach men from the mercenaries, and all the gossip he's heard seems to aim towards the Sibilant Quartet, Shrapnel, Cypher, Schneider, and Schilling, the local weapons merchant, researcher, supplier, and auctioneer, respectively. He's not entirely sure why they're called the Sibilant Quartet, but they're all associated to each other. You get the idea? The thing is, one of them is working directly with ZIVCAS. With plenty of contacts, this one individual acts like an intermediary, funneling men straight into ZIVCAS' ranks. The Sibilant Quartet keep checks on each other, so if you go around asking, you should uncover who it is eventually. Here's an interesting question though. Do you respect the beer cardinal?
Я не пойму, ты меня уважаешь или нет?
Because he's heard that you recently came across one of Siegfried's audio journals. We'll skip over this since it's worth a video of its own. Back to the main matter at hand, figuring out who amongst the Sibilant Quartet are to blame for the outpour of fresh blood into the enemy's hands. Talking to Schilling, the auctioneer,
Так, дай-ка я тебя рассмотрю.
is the easiest part of this entire ordeal. He's the type to butter up his clientele with fancy talk, but when asked if he knows anything about the situation, he'll tell you he's got too much work to be of any help, discarding him from the list. If you talk to Schneider, the supplier,
Здорово.
he'll tell you right away that Cypher's clientele seems to have boomed recently, which is somewhat suspicious. He has an assistant named Chess Player, so talking to him might give you a clue as to why this is. If you're curious about talking to Cypher, he'll tell you that he's pretty bothered about the situation and how it all causes tension in the Serpentine. Still, he won't tell you anything interesting or even offer a job. Another easy conversation. Talking to his assistant, Chess Player, is another story.
Извини.
Telling you that he's trying to build a rep by doing petty jobs, he asked Cypher to make him his assistant, since he wasn't too keen on heading for the front lines just yet. Put a bit of pressure on him and he'll immediately spill something more interesting. Cypher has been hinting at him that, if he's down for it, Chess Player could be taking some more serious off-the-books tasks, unofficial shit. Of course, he's been saying no thus far, because he thinks that'd be a quick way to get himself disappeared. But if you're so keen on finding out what that's about, you could always offer yourself up, right? Chess Player will give you some pretty useful advice. Shady or not, you can probably do it without getting your hands dirty. He'll also tell you to let him in if you need help at any point, since he's also looking to build a rep for himself. Back to Cypher, this time actually getting a chance to speak to him, he'll take you up on the offer to do tasks Chess Player won't. The one condition? Don't ask, don't tell, just do it. First job, a local newbie by the name of Rickshaw owes him money, and he needs to have a talking to. The problem? It's been a while since anyone's seen him, but he does have a buddy, one named Twain, a local egghead who does a better job of staying back and assembling explosives rather than going to the front line. He might know where he is. Bottom line, Cypher wants his money.
Прости, я занят.
Может, позже поболтаем?
Twain doesn't seem too keen on talking about his friend's whereabouts, mainly because he has tried to pay back Cypher, the problem being that each time, the interest always seemed to be much higher than the amount he had on hand. If you're understanding about it, Twain will tell you where he probably is. Not want to let his debt keep growing, Rickshaw headed for a stash which is now marked on your map. He still hasn't returned though. Twain asks that if you find him, to please understand him. He's part of the clan too, after all. Something I strongly agree with, since we're all under the same flag, right? This scalping, loan shark, economical entrapment shit really bothers me. Whatever, let's go look for him. You won't find Rickshaw, not in his feet that is. A beaten up corpse with a PDA bearing his name, confirming that he died en route to his stash. Sad, for sure, but with the stash in the area, it might be worth looking for it to bring whatever little there is to Cypher. If anything, just to bring a little closure to the topic. Letting Twain know about his friend's fate will net you 1,000 rubles and some final words on Rickshaw's fate. In the end, all he can attribute it to is rotten luck, eaten alive by a lack of money and an accumulation of debt. Lastly, Shrapnel, the arms dealer.
Ну, чего пялишь?
Won't spill out any useful information so easily. Have none of these men ever heard of obstruction of justice? Shrapnel, on his own admission, is a pretty ill-tempered guy. This has caused him issues with one of his only friends, Stiglitz, the local handyman. They both love guns, and Stiglitz used to keep Shrapnel company whenever he took on the odd tuning job, giving him pointers along the way, eventually catching Shrapnel in a bad enough mood for him to mouth off. He's got too much pride to do it himself, so he'd like for you to go talk to Stiglitz and let him know just how sorry he is. The amount of interpersonal drama in Stalcraft sometimes makes me feel there should be dating game mechanics. God damn. Whatever, if you go talk to Stiglitz,
Так, кажется, у нас тут новый клиент.
you'll find it funny how Shrapnel didn't dare to show himself, instead sending you to apologize in his stead. Stiglitz was pouring his heart out to Shrapnel only for the latter to start cussing him out, cursing his bad luck with friendships. If you ask him about that, he'll tell you that he used to have another mechanic friend named Tarmac, said friendship ending when Stiglitz himself let his tongue get the better of him, musing about how much he'd like to know what Tarmac is up to now. At this point, you can tell him that you know about Tarmac, but that would be a lie. The devs left a cheeky little option here to humiliate you for thinking you could just mindlessly press dialogue options and let them do the whole thinking work for you, so don't do that.
Ты что, решил попробовать потоптаться на моей мозоли?
Instead, just ask him to give you a task in the hopes that'll be enough for him to forgive Shrapnel, begrudgingly accepting if you go to the nearby underground ruins and gather a couple of random bits and pieces which, useless to everyone else, are still valuable for the repair work that Stiglitz gets up to. And just like that, the axe has been squashed. The beef is buried. Give Shrapnel the good news.
Ну и чего он там?
Shrapnel is pretty eager, already thinking about what guns he should bring out for their little get-together. Hopefully this time he'll keep his character in check. About that clue though...
А, точно. Присмотрись к Крамнику. Это боец из отряда коммуниста.
Kramnik is, by Shrapnel's own words, a loser, a fighter from Communists' squad. The contracts he takes are either complete failures or barely accomplished. Reportedly, he owes money to just about everyone on the Serpentine because of this. The weird thing is, he's been paying off all of his debts, which implies he's made a lot of money recently. Where would a loser with barely any victories to his name get that kind of money? Maybe from being paid off by ZIVCAS? Go talk to Kramnik a little and get some answers.
Я занят, мне не до базара с салагами.
Even if the guy is riding high on his riches and acting like a dumbass because of it, the fastest way to ground him is to imply that maybe you could go speak to Communist and tell him about his riches, implying that he got them from being bribed by the Covenant.
Ты чё, дурак что ли? Какой завет? Ты чего? Да у коммуны от слова завет глаза становятся краснее флага с серпом и молотом. Он же как бык ярится, не смей ему такого говорить!
Apparently, Communist is intimidating enough for him to come clean immediately. He got the money from being paid off by ZIVCAS, though he swears up and down that he's scamming them, with no real intention to change sides. Hoping that you'll keep this venture of his a secret, he'll tell you about a little meeting spot where the conversation took place. You'll probably find something interesting there. You won't find anyone there. Instead, there will be a backpack with a note telling whoever it may concern to not to attempt any PDA communication, since it might get intercepted. Remember the nest you cleared out? Looks like that's the place where this cell of provocateurs is currently residing at. Might be worth paying them a visit. As you might expect, your presence isn't welcome, which is fucked up since this is your home territory. Such blatant disrespect against their hosts can only be repaid with the eviction of these squatters, and while you won't see any particularly important figures amongst them, you will find an interesting document with the names of all the mercenaries who jumped ship on it. Most importantly, confirming what you already know. Cypher is the recruiter. The news was closing in on him from all sides, it seems, since the ZIVCASers were thinking of replacing him when he began charging more for his services as a recruiter. Coming back to your mentor figure, Romeo, to break the news on Cypher, he'll assure you that the matter will be dealt with, sending a couple of men to have a chat with him, telling you even Muller will be there for it. Sounds like Cypher's fate will be grim and short. Your detective work earning you not just his praise, but also a spectator spot in the next council meeting with Muller and the squad commanders. Lucky you.
Серьезно?
Looks like you've earned the enviable position of Romeo's assistant. But enough of that, this is the current situation. ZIVCAS, who up until recently were loyal customers of the Mercenaries, immediately hired the Mercenaries after the Great Emission that opened up the New North, only to double-cross them once the job was done. Not only not paying for the contract, but poaching a massive chunk of the organization and creating their own special forces with them. Hostilities aren't in full swing, but you can see why this is a massive fucking issue. The latest figurehead to have jumped ship being Brutus, the guy who was mean to you when you were introducing yourself to the squad commanders.
Это брут.
ZIVCAS's plan is to let the mercenaries slowly decay into nothing, poaching their men and taking over the area as they're left to try and cope with the massive debt they're owed. Luckily for us all, you managed to figure out the ZIVCAS recruiter was Cypher. Hopefully you've had your fill of detective work, as you're now getting the chance to prove yourself and why you carry a gun with you. There's reports that ZIVCAS men are fairly eager to spend their time on a mountain to the west, throw them off the fucking cliffside and get rid of these corporate leeches.
Высоты боишься? Фу, я тоже. До усрачки.
Are you afraid of heights by any chance? The climb up is a whole fucking adventure. The cold up here is so intense it can kill you, like in a matter of minutes. So it's probably some sort of anomalous blizzard. Making your way from fire pit to fire pit, the ZIVCASers are dug in deep. They've had this place to themselves this entire time, after all, so you'll be fighting an uphill battle. As you make your way up, Executioner will talk to you over the comms, seemingly not as friendly as the last time you met.
Эй, у нас гости! Похоже, наши бывшие товарищи-наемники не врубили, что им лучше бы сидеть на своей бумажной фабрике до жопы лучше подтирать. Но ничего, ща мы их научим уму-разуму. Эй, а ты у нас типа гордость Ромео, в бой прешь в авангарде. Не устал к нам в горы карабкаться? Не переживай, парниша, вниз спустишься быстрее. Я сам тебя сброшу. Ты чё, сука, никак не сдохнешь? Почему этого найма до сих пор никто вниз не спустил, а? Ладно, горец сраный. В конце должен остаться только один.
Just stick with it and you'll get to meet him face to face once more time, for the last time, too. Coming back to Romeo, just as you tell him that Executioner is handled, turns out the guy's a bit tougher than you might think. Reports popping up that he's still alive and being taken into mercenary custody. Just how did he survive that barrage of bullets is beyond me though. I guess it's good to have him as a hostage. Oh well. Romeo is just as hesitant to go down as he was to go up, but the worst part of this operation is past us. Time to head home.
Ладно, я собрался, я готов.
Слышишь? Ты слышишь? Ты слышишь меня? Помоги.
Weird. Upon his return, Romeo seemingly was still shaken by working in altitude and is currently taking a break. In the meantime, the doctors patched up Executioner. Tunda and Communist now working to try and get him to spill anything of value. Embarrassingly enough, they seem to have more of an issue with bickering.
Просто рвем ему ногти, один за одним. Это самая лучшая пытка, которую я знаю.
Ты этому в плену у заветовцев научился, Коммун? Во-первых. Палач был еще совсем недавно одним из нас. Во-вторых, ну вырвешь ты ему все ногти, и он тебе навешает лапши, лишь бы все это закончилось.
Ты завет почем зря не поминай, Тунда. Я этого не люблю, ты знаешь. Не провоцируй меня зазря.
They're having a little debate over whether it's best to beat it out of him or talk it out of him. Your arrival is opportune. Tunda will tell you to give it a shot yourself, since if Communist had a go at Executioner, he'd probably end up dead or disfigured. This means you're expected to not hurt him, of course, but who knows what might happen.
Здрасте, а мы же знакомы.
Funnily enough, you can ask him about himself. He's the type of person to keep things nonchalant, so of course he'll comply, even if just to insult you a little while he does it, describing himself as a cool dude who left the mercenaries seeing what they were turning into, whatever that means. His point, he has balls and brains, and you gave up both when you chose to side with Muller.
Вы от того и от другого отказались.
Perhaps there's a little more to Siegfried's breakaway from Muller, saying that he won Fort 11 and then convinced ZIVCAS himself that he could lead their forces, all while Muller sat on his ass, or so he says. He also claims to be cool and not scared, but who wouldn't say something like that? Enough chatting, time for the important questions.
Я и впрямь тут скоро усну. Ты меня допрашивать-то будешь? Удиви меня, салага.
So, if you catch his tongue spilling enough times, he'll eventually admit defeat and tell you about the twins.
О, дурак. Опять спалился.
Back when you found him wandering around the Serpentine, he was looking for them. Two crazy blessed stalkers who have crazy powers when together. The capacity to see through the zone, clairvoyance, weird satanic shit to tell the future. Seemingly, they've already been using their abilities to great effect against Rise, if only they weren't so unruly. Executioner himself claims to not know why they choose to serve ZIVCAS. Always keeping to themselves, they used to obey Siegfried, but lately they've been going AWOL more and more often. You cut Executioner and his battalion right as they were about to leave, as the twins had returned to custody. Interesting stuff, let's continue. Just make sure to make the right questions. This guy's a bona fide shit talker, so if you let him get to you...
Ну вот к чему это все?
Not our best work, that's for sure. As the interrogation continues, the matter of ZIVCAS's work in Fort 11 pops up. What are they doing exactly? Well, they're working on some sort of supersuit, the master of the zone. Executioner and Siegfried found some sort of early drafts from the Soviet era which worked to provide the framework. Back then, it was meant to be used during the Afghan war, of course. Then, like a skip in time, someone finished the designs, long after the collapse of the Soviet Union. ZIVCAS's arrival is meant to be the suit's third evolution, creating the suit itself and breaking all records, a suit of armor to surpass all others currently circulating in the zone. That's where ZIVCAS's focus is placed, the Forge and the Master of the Zone. Researchers, developers, testers, and Spetsnaz, developing this suit that is certain to grant whoever uses it the capacity to become a one-man army. Scary shit. This is as much as it's gonna tell you, but it's enough. Tunda has already forwarded a report of the matter to Muller, and on the whole this interrogation went decently. Communist is eager to end his life right then and there.
Я скажу тебе, что дальше. Палач нам все выложил, пользы от него теперь нет, только воздух портит.
But Tunda isn't so certain it's a good idea. He was a good mercenary at one point, brainwashed or not.
Коммунист только и ждет возможности украсить стенку мозгами палача. А я вот думаю, что ничего красивого в его башке нет. Нечем стенку украшать.
He's not against the idea of keeping him as a prisoner and throwing him some canned food every so often. These men could argue for hours, so maybe you could expedite the process. I'm of the opinion that all life is sacred, even one such as this. So I say, keep him alive. He'll wisen up in time, hopefully. Muller will want to hear about this from the horse's mouth though, so you better go see him.
Я ознакомился с докладом Тунды по поводу допроса. Близнецы, кузня 11. Кое на что палач и впрямь пролил свет.
Having already read Tunda's report, the things that were spoken of make a lot of sense to Muller. He and his commanders were wondering just what kind of brilliant strategists ZIVCAS had on its side. Turns out they weren't so much brilliant as they were supernatural. One might think Muller has a distaste for blessed stalkers, but it's more of a distaste for things that can't be measured. In this line of work, analytics are half of a fight, after all. The twins are an issue of their own, but then there's the Master of the Zone, ZIVCAS's heaviest of artilleries. What if they promised Siegfried the first one? Is it all about this suit? Executioner is unlikely to know the full story, but the idea of this suit existing seems fairly convincing, which is why it's a massive problem. That is, unless the mercenaries manage to capture it for themselves. That's just fantasizing, however. ZIVCAS probably still hasn't realized it was the mercenaries behind the death of Executioner's squad, and so we must move quick before the war starts officially. Head out to the mines and get ready. Romeo and Communist are coming as well, while Tunda stays back to keep things in order. It's about time we started making moves. The mines. As the name suggests, this used to be a mining settlement. People lived here until the Nazis invaded. Things got better after the war, and then they didn't. The zone's birth giving this place a final death. Once you get to the mines, Muller will already be confiding with his war council.
Я хочу иметь максимально полное представление о ситуации.
ZIVCAS forces easily elude mercenary squads while also managing crushing defeats against them at every turn. The advantage the twins provide is anything but negligible. On the other hand, Rice is known to be working in the area as well. Chatskie, their leader, is a good commander, if nothing else, and they manage to hold their own even though they're also in an open conflict with ZIVCAS. Of course, Muller is having none of it. Go out and strike at them. One might be tempted to say, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and Muller has his own answer. Fuck that shit. Rice used to be a loose gang of misfit stoners, but they've taken a sizable portion of the pie for themselves when they took over the institute to the south. Even the mercenaries' own coffers have suffered. A sizable population of scientists who used to pay them for protection now simply opting to join Rice for free. Rice decided to step up, and so their competition. Therefore, they must be crushed.
Зарей не будет ни мира, ни перемирия.
Start off with something simple, eliminating 5 of their squads. Good work. Or so it might seem. Muller told you that it's not gonna be enough. Communist was right in his assessment. Chatskie is a damn fine commander and a worthy rival. Taking out some patrolmen won't be enough to break him. So, what could we do? Muller puts it well. He thought we were in the shit, Rice pushing forwards on one side and ZIVCAS in the other, and then a revelation came to him. Maybe there's a good chance to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. While out hunting, the mercenaries managed to spread some misinformation. Namely, some supposed detractors leaked false information into communication channels belonging to both Rice and ZIVCAS regarding some important deals the mercenaries are about to have. Remember Phil, Romeo's contact in ZIVCAS? Well, ZIVCAS is aware that there's a traitor in their midst, so they'll want to expose the traitor. At the same time, if Rice finds out that the mercenaries are about to partake of something important, there's no chance they won't crash the party, right? A perfect ruse to throw them off. Muller is giddy at the idea already, and it falls on you, loyal mercenary, to get the fake deal site prepped, namely by placing some bombs in the building. Filled with noxious gas from jellyfy anomalies, the plan is bound to be disastrous for our enemies. Don't back out now, because shit's just getting started.
Чего? Уже сдрейфил? Думал, мы тебя все время будем посылать только за мелкими отрядами зорек охотиться?
But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Go speak to Romeo so you can set up the fake negotiations in the first place. By the time you get there, Romeo's man will already be on the other side of the line. A random mercenary who will play the part of a ZIVCAS spy and follow along with everything you say. So, make it convincing. Just keep in mind, don't fucking think of mentioning Phil. The reason for the meeting also has to be something mundane, but interesting. So don't say you're trying to sell off a ghost rifle for 500 rubles. They'll know you're bullshitting. Lastly, we're not sure how many people are coming to this false reunion. A single person? A squad? Like I said, make it convincing.
Прием? Слышно?
What could a spy's name be in the first place? Fuck it. Our non-existent contact is a no bullshit type guy. I'm imagining him already.
Зигзаг. Звучит вполне по-шпионски. Продолжай.
Okay, the meeting's motive. At this point in time, surely Rice already knows about the Master of the Zone, right? And ZIVCAS will want to keep as much of it under wraps as possible.
Это ты отлично придумал. Зацепились за реальную разработку ZIVCAS, по которой мы и впрямь хотели бы получить больше информации.
And for how many of us? A small squad. This is Black Ops shit. Great job. Real Oscar-winning stuff. Kramnik, one of Communist soldiers, will come along to the agreed place so you can set up the party poppers. Upon arrival, Twain, another member of Communist squad, will be waiting for you. Kramnik already ran off with his share of the bombs and placed them in the lower floors, which means you get to take the rest of them. They have a mechanism that makes it so that they only get primed a few minutes after the last one is set. So go in and take your time placing them, but you better fucking think of an escape route, or you'll be breathing in poison and puking out blood. Oh, and Kramnik covered the lower floors already, so you'll have to go up, then back down to escape. Thanks, dickhead.
Здесь! Пошла пальба! Берегись! почти не осталось. Поторопись, ведь потратим всех в здании и его окрестностях. Время почти на нуле. Вместе со всеми!
Приветствую. Наконец-то я смогла наладить этот канал связи. Меня зовут Нина. Я в опасности. Без твоей помощи мне не обойтись. Пожалуйста, помоги мне. Они не должны найти меня. Помоги.
Might wanna take your PDA to the mechanic or a priest. Upon your return, Tunda has arrived with reinforcements. Surely things back home must be in order then, right? The plan went off without a hitch. A whole squad of ZIVCASers and Rice men are dead, but the war isn't over. Rice may have quieted down, but the ZIVCAS, it was just a minor hiccup in their operations. The twins could have easily fucked that whole plan up with little effort. While the twins are still working with ZIVCAS, defeating them is nothing short of a fantasy, and even if they were to be removed from the picture, they still have an advantage in numbers and equipment. That's for the brass to worry about though. Your place as a grunt right now is to help Romeo, as he was assigned the responsibility of tracking down the twins. He has a new role for you, Ghost Hunter, like that one movie. You don't have any ghost busting equipment, but Romeo knows someone who might be able to help. Phil. Romeo can't come along this time, but you'll probably get along just fine in a little meeting. He knows what the conversation will be about, so maybe he'll be a bit more forward on just what you are going to do.
Ты один? Давай поживей.
Once you arrive, Phil asks if you're the one being tasked with solving the twins' problem. Maybe he feels sorry for you, since he's met them and describes them as extremely creepy, with extraordinary abilities and capable of producing hallucinations. Still, that doesn't make them ideal operatives to ZIVCAS. He reveals that they're a little too willful. The reason why your gas bomb trick worked in the first place was because the twins had gone AWOL at that point in time. Lucky break. Of course, that means they have to be roped back extremely often. ZIVCAS must have a methodology of some sort, right? Well, whenever they use their powers, they produce an outpour of anomalous energy, which they track using specialized radars, a few of which feel swiped from the lab, just for you. If you go around the mines placing them, surely you'll be able to pinpoint where they're at next time they're in the area, right? Really useful shit. But still, it makes one wonder, why is Phil currently working against ZIVCAS operations in the area? As he puts it, Phil is working as a representative for a portion of the organization that isn't in favor of ZIVCAS's current operations. Looks like ZIVCAS is big enough that one hand may be doing something without the other finding out. That, and because him and Romeo are pals, of course. How nice. Go place the devices, man. These devices must be fairly advanced at what they do. As soon as you lay down the last one, Phil will send you a message telling you he's already pinpointed their location. Of course, he'll take you there, but it's not like he can come along with you, wearing his uniform and all that.
Ты зря пришел. Мы видим тебя, паразит. Куда бы ты ни заполз, мы тебя видим.
The place is full to the brim with ZIVCAS operatives, but nothing you haven't seen before. Most interestingly, you won't find the twins here. Rather, you'll find a strange portal anomaly which will take you away. You'll eventually break free of whatever hold they have over you and be dropped into their lair. They're not conversationalists, so all you can do is get rid of them.
Если бы ты только знал, как я тебе благодарна. Я, наконец, в безопасности. Я знала, что могу положиться на тебя. Прости. Ты, возможно, злишься сейчас. Я ведь столького тебе не объяснила. Еще не научилась быть последовательной. Скоро свяжусь с тобой снова.
Sounds like the twins were onto whoever this is. If they wanted to find her, why weren't they able? No time to dwell on that, the contract is still ongoing. Upon return, there will be another screaming match between Communist and Tunda. The ZIVCAS operatives chilling in the room should give you an idea as to why.
Нахрена тебе сдался этот Фауст, Тунда? Или тебя просто тянет на его крутое прозвище? Типа оно все такое заумное. Наверное, он с радостью вступит в твой кружок любителей цитат на бесполезном мертвом языке.
Как можно быть таким козлом, Коммун? Просто уступи мне Фауста. В моем отряде с него будет больше пользы. Я уже чертовски сильно устал от твоего нытья. В последних боях с Зарей мой отряд был куда эффективней. Поэтому Фаусту лучше подкрепить мои силы.
Это ж кто там, интересно, замерял эффективность твоего отряда, а? Мы только за последние сутки 3 патруля зорек вырезали. Фауст должен присоединиться ко мне.
Моменто мори, Коммун! Потому что еще немного, и клянусь, я тебя закопаю.
Себя закопай, римлянин хренов! Фауст вступит в мой отряд. И точка.
Sounds like some of these men jumped ship from the mercenaries towards ZIVCAS, and now they're back. There's also a dude who got started on ZIVCAS and is now jumping to the mercenaries. How quaint. Romeo is already taking bets on who'd win in a fight. Try talking to him about Nina and he'll take the piss, telling you should maybe collect your own produce.
Брат, тебе уже мерещится барышня, которая тебе написывает? Мы в зоне, очнись. Тебе бы, пару спустить, знаешь? Холодный душ, там, все дела.
Either that, or maybe your PDA is just buggy. Or maybe it's a scary type of ghost anomaly. That's as many words of support you're gonna get. Telling Muller about your victory over the twins, that means the mercenaries have a chance to truly fight against them. Not everything's sunshine and rainbows though. Reports keep coming in about the Master of the Zone, specifically about the fact that seemingly it's being developed with the express purpose of breaking into Pripyat. Closed off ever since the Great Emission, the place is practically stewing with all manner of artifacts and valuable shit. All they would have to do is kick out the remaining Murmur soldiers stranded there and they'll have free claim over the whole city. You can see how this might be a problem. But don't fret, Muller is intent on capturing this suit. For now, a little human resources is what you should be worried about. Recent victories have meant that ZIVCAS operatives have been skipping their contracts to come join the mercs, which suits us perfectly, as Romeo, Tunda and Communist Squad have suffered losses recently. You'll be talking to these men and handling assignments. Fuck, okay, let's just do this quickly please. Romeo needs a scout who also is good at medicine, so he gets Kresciatic, the ex-mercenary who eloped with Siegfried because his friends were doing it as well. Hot Rod hates Covenant, so he goes with Communist. Tunda needs a medic who can handle explosives as a secondary thing. He gets Kreit, the certified who's jumping back on the winning side when he figured out shit wasn't so sweet under Siegfried. Then there's the fourth dude, Faust. Mysterious and withdrawn, but the most experienced out of them all. He used to be a Murmur soldier before joining ZIVCAS. Romeo bowed out of the argument, but both Tunda and Communist want him. Fuck it, I'm not playing this, just toss a coin. Communist gets him. Congratulations. Great job. You're a real multitasker, you know. Things are finally looking up. New fighters bolstering merc ranks, the twins are dead. You know what this means? Yeah, time to shit on Rice again. Go out and get rid of a few of their officers. These stoners will probably panic the moment there's not a boss man around to lead them by the hand. Muller should be happy with this. The commanders are all gathered when you return. Talking the next step, Rice needs to become a non-threat if we are to deal with ZIVCAS properly. There's no real possibility of kicking them out of the mines completely, but surely taking over some of their outposts should force them to regroup for a while at least, right? Tunda and Communist hit the flanks, Romeo will command the capture of the outpost. Player, you just be player.
Эй, прием! Я тут неподалеку. Дуй ко мне. Пора переходить к следующей части операции.
Once you're done capturing one of Rice's outposts, Romeo will send you a message, telling you to come with to hit up yet another one of Rice's positions holed up in a mine. Go in and deal with everyone you find, laying mines on your way out to make sure they really suffer to recapture this place. Once that's done, you're to return to headquarters right away. Communist is going absolutely berserk over something.
Тут у нас коммунист чутка взбесился. Можешь его успокоить? Просто поболтай с ним немного и проследи, чтобы он стрелять взрывать на эмоциях не начал.
Они там, они...
Who's here, man?
Да они там совсем охуели! Заветопитек на военном совете с Мюллером! До чего дожили наемники? Я там чуть всех не поубивал нахрен!
Oh, sounds like Muller couldn't find anyone better than the cultist lunatics of the Covenant for our alliance. Really? Go drink some water or something, Communist. Cool heads must prevail. Going to see Muller, it's true. There's an important looking Covenant member by the name of Christopher discussing something. The North is big, and there's plenty to share, but right now weakening ZIVCAS should be both factions' priority. Christopher says he cannot speak for Metropolit, his leader, working only as his eyes and ears. He'll relay the details of this deal to him, so that he may respond as soon as he's able. As he leaves, Muller asks Tunda that he escort him, lest Communist tries to chop off his head on the way back.
Ihre Führer brevis est.
Иногда здесь все превращается в дурдом. Впрочем, в зоне тривиальных ситуаций не бывает, верно? Ромео сообщил мне о твоем вкладе в разгром Зорик. Поздравляю. Позади остался очередной этап войны.
Another phase of the war is done with. Of all these shitty partners the mercenaries could choose, Muller thinks the Covenant is the closest thing to the best option, especially since, even with ZIVCAS weakened, striking their command center is too tall an order for a single faction, especially since this event must come quickly. Reports have come that the Master of the Zone is nearing completion. Not just that, Siegfried is still out there, a loose end Muller would rather be rid of. You keep bringing him up, Muller. Do you actually want to fight him, or are you just hoping he'll come back?
Тунда на латыни как-то сказанул, не помню, как звучало, но суть была такая. Смысл жизни не в существовании как таковом, а в том, чтобы быть силой, определяющей существование. Хоть я сам для себя это никогда так не формулировал, жил я всегда по этому принципу. Гляжу на Зигфрида и понимаю, он тоже жил и живет согласно ему.
How solemn, but that's enough of that. We're about to shift our focus towards ZIVCAS, so all hands on deck for the planning phase. Romeo and his old friend Phil are in the area, waiting for you.
Вот и твой протеже, Ромео. Как раз вовремя.
Phil lays it out clearly. The twins' death was a massive blow to their operations, but Siegfried is a commander on par with Muller. If you really want to weaken ZIVCAS right now, your focus should be on driving a wedge between him and his employers. Considering the sudden barrage of failures, surely they'll be glad to single out someone for it. He already betrayed the mercenaries, so why should they doubt him on betraying them as well? Phil says he'll leak information about the Master of the Zone to other clans, Frontier, Covenant, and Rise. Then he'll parade the leak around in the next ZIVCAS Council meeting, making the case that Siegfried was selling the information. This is all pretty sweet, but what does Phil gain from it again? His mere presence here is already a massive risk. Well, he's actually working on a different project at ZIVCAS, a project codenamed Misfire. Supposedly, Forge 11 scientists have managed to build a device that can weaken and even control zombies, the psionically brain-fried type you see roaming around from time to time. The project itself isn't getting enough funding, but that's besides the point. Phil wants to test a prototype, but this device works on anomalous energy conversion, the type you use to overcharge your artifacts back at the base. Go around and wander near some large anomaly clusters to charge it, and Phil will frame Siegfried. Sounds like a fair deal, doesn't it? Might want to put on some protective gear though.
Устройство заряжено. Отлично. Теперь тебе нужно доставить его в мой тайник. Поторопись.
Once that's done, simply bring it to Phil's stash. With that, he'll say his farewells, hopefully fulfilling his side of the deal at the same time. In the meantime, Tunda is assaulting a nearby ZIVCAS facility, and could use some help. Why not drop by and be a pal?
О, ты здесь. Тунде нужна помощь.
The place is fairly large, and full to the brim with ZIVCAS forces. Don't these desk jockeys know they're on the way out? Make your way towards Tunda and let him know the way out is clear.
Благодарю за помощь.
The conflict is taking a toll on everyone, it would seem. Romeo recently barely got out of a skirmish alive, so he'll be resting for a bit. Communist squad is also taking casualties. Once you're done here, you should head out and get rid of some ZIVCAS squads. Make things easier on your fellow men.
Прием. Это снова Нина. Ты совсем близко. Знаешь, мне было даже неудобно после прошлого раза. Я думала сразу тебе все выложить, как только мы опять свяжемся. И тут такое... Бац! Ты на пороге. Раз ты так спешишь, я могу помедлить. Встретимся лицом к лицу. Так тебе все будет понятнее.
Мы с Ромео встряли в серьезный переплет. Тут в здании НИИ крупная база ZIVCAS. Ждем тебя на подмогу.
No time to rest. Communists will hit you up, telling you there's a large ZIVCAS contingent in a research institute building at Forge and they've dire need of your support.
Тут у нас ситуация.
Break in and shoot everything that's dressed in ZIVCAS gear, and don't stop until you come across someone in a black and blue getup. Eventually, you'll get a call from Romeo. Recovered so soon? He's come across a civilian, a scientist to be specific. He's got a shitty attitude though.
Ты кто такой? Ты... Погоди-ка, Альцгеймер мои мозги вроде еще не захапал. Я ж тебя откуда-то знаю, верно?
Oh, Solyanikov. Assumed dead after his disappearance from the burrows, working with ZIVCAS against his will, you can probably guess what I'm gonna say. Forge 11 sucks, and the Master of the Zone is a massive sham. The whole project is too expensive for it to be sustainable in any sense. Then, why are ZIVCAS here? as you might already know, Nina. Nina is an AI that's stationed in Forge 11. It has the unique capacity of influencing the noosphere, and thus ZIVCAS has been working to try and control it. But this AI also happens to be extremely independent and with an extremely high learning capacity. Simply put, it's too smart, too independent, and too technologically advanced for them to even make a single percentage of progress in the matter. Of course, they think they have all the time in the world. Sadly for them, you're gonna prove them wrong.
Да-да, можешь мне еще поныть тут? Это ж не тебя на старости лет шпыняют по всей зоне, вообще не спрашивая твоего мнения. Сучонок ты слабохарактерный.
Прием! Я на помощь! Зигфрид!
Shit, sounds bad.
А вот и еще один боец Мюллера. Только дернись, и коммунист отправится вслед за совком в забвение. Потом и тебя вдогонку пошлю.
Oh fuck! Communist got shot, and by no one else but Siegfried.
Хренов предатель! Подстилка зевкасовская! Продался этому сучьему НИИ за выгодный контракт.
Seems like Phil's framing already had its intended effect. Siegfried's relationship with his employers is strained, though he seems to take it more as another move in a grand game than being rightfully pissed about it. He's certain that this is all a ploy by Muller to try and make him come back with his tail tucked between his legs. His latest move of accepting ZIVCAS soldiers into the mercenaries, he assumes, is supposedly a sign that he'd be willing to take him back as well. In the end, it would seem that there is a lot more history between Siegfried and Muller than meets the eye.
Мюллеру хочется верить, что я приползу на коленях сдаваться. Тех жалких трусов, что дезертировали из моего спецназа, он, должно быть, принял в ряды наймов, чтобы подать мне сигнал. Этого не будет. Я слишком далеко зашел, мосты сжег, а пепел, чтобы при худшем раскладе голову им посыпать, не собрал. Воюем до конца.
Truth or just an ego trip, he's burned too many bridges and isn't coming back home just because ZIVCAS disavowed him. In his mind, this war is still ongoing, even if he's the last soldier to fight it. The word betrayal and traitor mean nothing to him. Good traitor, bad traitor, real traitor, fake traitor. All that matters is being willing to fight to the end. Still, how much fight does he really have in him? The building's surrounded and he has not a single friend in the world. Fuck! Even if tonight was a victory, this is a major rain check. This means there's not a single hope Siegfried will ever come back home. It's sad, and it fucking sucks, but it's all part of the job description. And the day of the joint operation with Covenant is fast approaching, so there's little we can do but to keep trudging on. And so, in a cold night during an operation, the certified mercenary known as Communist breathed his last. His life ended by a traitor. His paycheck will remain uncollected. Fuck, man.
Ромео отправил мне сообщение о том, что ты столкнулся с Зигфридом. Расскажи мне, что произошло.
Going back to Muller, it's not clear whether he's more hurt that Communist is dead or that Siegfried was the one who did him in. Maybe he really did hope Siegfried will come back to him and things could be like before.
Зигфрид убил коммуниста. Вот как сложилось. Настроен воевать до победного, значит? Ну, ему немного осталось. Ровно как и всем зевкасовцам.
But such a thought will have to remain as a what if. Siegfried is AWOL, from Mercenaries and ZIVCAS jurisdiction. He could be anywhere, but the instructions are clear. If you come across him, kill him. Don't give him a chance. He's made it clear he won't surrender, if only out of principle. And with that, all that remains is to prepare for the final assault on ZIVCAS's command center. Covenant has agreed to cooperate and provide support for the mercenaries, but don't expect this to turn into a longevous friendship. Covenant is well aware of the existence of the Master of the Zone. As such, you can expect that they'll be just as eager to find and capture it for themselves as Muller's crew. It'll be a race for it, but you're proven to be fast on your feet and good with a gun. Whenever you're ready, just say the word.
Это консоль управления. Скорее, активирую ее.
Я малость разочарован.
Надеялся, что старик Мюллер сам придет за моей головой. А ты какой-то прыткий. Чего ты за мной вязался, а? Хочешь выслужиться перед Мюллером? Надеешься стать великим наемником? Люди друг друга не ценят. Люди ценят возможности. Вот Мюллер увидел возможность расквитаться со мной чужими руками и послал тебя на убой. Как думаешь, какие у тебя шансы устоять против меня, когда я в бронекостюме, м? Я что-нибудь симпровизирую. Ты ведь тоже надеешься победить меня через импровизацию. Сомневаюсь, что у тебя заготовлен план боя с хозяином зоны. Должен признаться, импровизировать в этом крутом бронекостюме куда комфортнее, чем вне его. Нет, этот поезд не просто ушел давно. Когда я перешел командовать спецназом ZIVCAS, я твердо решил, что на этот поезд не сяду вовсе, даже если билеты попадутся халявные. Наш с тобой разговор точно закончится боем, и выживет только один из нас. Ставлю на себя. Знаешь, аудиодневники отлично заменяют сеансы у психотерапевта. Просто выкладываешь им все. Слова ложатся на пленку и улетучиваются из головы. Я предал, чтобы меня не предали раньше и не втоптали в грязь. Предал в наилучший момент, когда госпожа Удача протянула мне золотой билет в виде возможности возглавить спецназ ZIVCAS. Предал тогда, когда только дурак не предал бы на моем месте. Вот и все. Когда они поймут, что своего драгоценного хозяина зоны они могут вернуть, лишь договорившись со мной, думаю, они переменят настроение. А если не переменят, ну, 2 смертям не бывать, а одной не миновать. Правда, и эта одна может быть весьма яркой. Зивкасовцы что-то болтали об этом, но мне лично ни холодно, ни жарко. Просто какой-то цифровой призрак, заточенный в стенах этого комплекса. Я точно знаю, что ZIVCAS так и не нашел способа, как повлиять на него. А может ли он повлиять на нас? Но это уже к нему вопрос. Да, я не сразу тебя вспомнил. Лишь через некоторое время после своего бегства из НИИ. Но это для нас ничего не меняет. Я предал Мюллера, Ромео, Тунду, коммуниста. А ведь всех их я знал гораздо больше тебя. Да мне самому искренне интересно, на что способна эта штука. Начнем.
Тебе нужно использовать местный ускоритель частиц, чтобы победить. Для начала активируй консоль.
Наемники одержали победу над силами спецназа НИИ ZIVCAS. Мюллер возвратил группировке силу и честь. Предатель Зигфрид уничтожен. А враг, когда-то бывший партнером НИИ ZIVCAS, вновь ищет расположение наемников. Хозяин зоны. Удивительный бронекостюм, созданный НИИ ZIVCAS на основе наработок, найденных в Кузне-11, оказался уничтожен. Вместе с бронекостюмом погибли и надежды на то, что его можно будет использовать для путешествия в Припять через заслоны аномалий. Пока никто не знает, удастся ли с толком использовать то немногое, что осталось от хозяина зоны. Как никто не знает и о таинственной Нине и ее планах, как далеко продвинется ее обучение и к чему приведет ее взаимодействие с ноосферой. Обернется ли ее работа для обитателей зоны добром или худом? Этими вопросами ты задаешься, вглядываясь в линию горизонта.
With ZIVCAS defeated and the Master of the Zone's scrap pieces in mercenary possession, the following days were hectic enough that, upon meeting him, Romeo will tell you that he wasn't sure he'd see you again.
Эй, друг, черт побери, я уже устал ждать. Когда же мы наконец встретимся?
Praising you for your work, Muller isn't home to debrief you. Rather, he's seemingly at a meeting with someone. A meeting you're invited to attend. The place might seem familiar. The same abandoned building you met up with Phil and Romeo back when this whole matter started. Phil is here once more, along with Muller and a small number of soldiers from both sides. Things don't seem to be tense in the slightest. Interestingly enough, among the ZIVCASers, you'll see an important individual you've never seen before, who seems to be leading the current interaction.
Ах да, вот и наш человек. Это он уничтожил предателя Зигфрида. вместе с хозяином зоны.
Muller will hype you up as the man who eliminated Siegfried and the Master of the Zone. Falk will acknowledge you, but that's as much as you're gonna get. Purportedly speaking on behalf of ZIVCAS's new council and chairman. He's eager to express just how sorry they are for the way things turned out, describing the way things ended during these wars as a misunderstanding, making his intentions clear that he'd like to resume the normal partnership that ZIVCAS and the Mercenaries had up until recently.
Как полноправный представитель Совета ZIVCAS и его председателя Андриана Евгеньевича, я выражаю нашу заинтересованность в том, чтобы мы поскорее пережили это недоразумение.
Muller seemingly can afford the luxury to not agree immediately, telling him that the mercenaries need a break to re-evaluate things. This conflict cost them many losses, and it's time to rebuild what was lost, seemingly comfortable enough to reveal the fact that many ZIVCASers are currently jumping ship to the mercenaries, again or for the first time. Falk and ZIVCAS must be in a very precarious situation, as not only does he not respond negatively, but once again he insists on how eager they are to resume work with the mercenaries.
Да, нам об этом известно. Можете открыть для них двери своей организации. Тем не менее, вы должны понимать, что мы не распускаем наш спецназ совсем.
Да, Фолк, я услышал. Я же уже сказал, мы возьмем перерыв и подумаем.
Still, it doesn't mean that the ZIVCAS Spetsnaz is disbanding, as units will still be working in the area, but a massive downsizing is taking place. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, Falk will bring up the matter of the Master of the Zone. Admitting to the fact that ZIVCAS spent an exorbitant amount of money in its development, they're eager to spend even more to recover it, as the research behind it is still extremely valuable. Muller will tell them that he'll think about it.
Мы подумаем об этом.
And with that, the matter is settled. Falk once again reiterates how they'll be waiting for the mercenaries to recover so that they can get back to work, always open to negotiate for the Master of the Zone, of course.
Бывайте, мужики. Привет от меня, Ромео.
The mercenaries really have ZIVCAS by the balls by now. It's clear by how much Falk was willing to backpedal during his interaction. Of course, Muller is gonna let them sit on that for a while, making them really desperate to pay up to recover this important partnership in the zone. Of course, money trickles down, and in your case, about 250,000 rubles will trickle down to your pockets. That, along with a clan voucher to claim whatever piece of veteran armor you want from the arms dealer. A nice payout for all your work. All in all, this wasn't that bad. Communists will be missed, but it was part of the job description. Most importantly, the mercenaries have recouped their honor, and with it, their capacity to continue working. Still, this was quite a fucking shit show, huh? Fucking hell.